I died, choking on my own blood. The cold barrel of my stepfather's Glock pressed against my temple, his fingers squeezing the trigger while Mom watched from the doorway, her eyes as empty as the promises she'd fed me my whole life. The bullet didn't just end me, it erased the kid who'd clawed his way through foster homes after she abandoned me at 12, only to drag me back at 25 like a loose end she needed tied off. But death's a lousy editor. It cut the wrong scene. And now I'm back. 24 again. Heart pounding in that shitty Brooklyn apartment. The alarm clock screaming 7 a.m. On the morning she first called me a failure to my face, I bolted upright in bed. Sheets tangled around my legs like restraints from a bad dream that wasn't a dream at all. The air smelled of stale coffee and regret. The kind that seeped into the walls of this one-bedroom walk-up I'd rented with tips from slinging drinks at that dive bar in Williamsburg. My hands trembled as I flexed them, staring at the faint scar on my knuckles from that bar fight junior year of high school. The one Mom used as Exhibit A in her endless, wasted potential sermon. It was real. I was real. Flesh and bone. Not the spectral bullshit I'd floated through for what felt like eternity after the shot. The date on my phone confirmed it. June 15th, 2018. 7 years before the end. Before the family reunion at the Hamptons estate where Mom, ever the social climber, had lured me under the guise of reconciliation. Before she handed me a scotch laced with enough rohypnol to drown an elephant, whispering apologies that tasted like lies. Before Victor, her third husband, the silver-tongued real estate mogul, dragged my limp body to the study and put one in my skull to clean up the mess. The mess being me, the illegitimate son she'd buried like a bad investment, only exhuming me when my existence threatened her perfect facade. I laughed, a raw, guttural sound that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. Laughed until tears stung my eyes, because in that moment, staring at the cracked mirror across the room, my reflection a ghost of the man I'd become, all sharp jaw and haunted green eyes, I knew. This wasn't mercy. This was a do-over. And I wasn't wasting it on forgiveness. That morning, I called in sick to the bar, my voice steady as I lied to Marco, the owner who always smelled like cheap cigar smoke. Family emergency, I said. And it wasn't entirely bullshit. My family was the emergency. Had been since the day Mom dumped me at child services with a note that read, "He's better off without me." She clawed her way up from trailer park trash to Park Avenue princess by marrying up, first a Wall Street broker who OD'd on coke, then a tech bro who ghosted her with the prenup intact, and finally Victor Hale, whose fortune was built on flipping foreclosures during the '08 crash. But me? I was the skeleton in her designer closet, the proof of her wild college days with my bio dad, some musician who'd split before I could walk. She'd found me again through a mutual Facebook friend, or so she claimed. "Peyton, baby, I've changed," she'd cooed over the phone, her voice honeyed with that fake southern lilt she'd picked up to sound relatable at galas. "Let me make it right. Dinner at Le Bernardin?" I'd gone, starving for the mother I'd mythologized in therapy sessions I couldn't afford. That night, over foie gras and vintage Bordeaux, she sized me up like a racehorse, tall, broad-shouldered, with her cheekbones and a brain she'd wasted on community college because foster care didn't come with Ivy League scouts. "You're squandering it all," she'd said, dabbing her lips with a napkin that probably cost more than my rent. "That mind of yours. Trapped pouring drinks? It's criminal. Peyton. Wasted potential. I see myself in you, the fire, the drive. But you're letting it rot." Her eyes had flicked to Victor, who nodded like a bobblehead, his Rolex glinting under the chandelier. It was the first hook in my gut. That phrase, wasted potential, repeated like a mantra every time she called, every guilt-laced check she sent that bounced half the time. But I didn't know then what I knew now. The secret she'd buried deeper than my existence. Victor's empire wasn't built on smart flips. It was laundered through shell companies tied to Russian oligarchs, bribes to city officials, and a trail of evictions that left families homeless. And Mom? She'd been his accomplice from day one, forging documents, seducing inspectors, even tipping off the feds anonymously about competitors to clear the board. I'd stumbled onto it in my old life, right before the reunion, hired as a temp at a midtown firm, piecing together anomalies in public records for shits and giggles. One late night, cross-referencing deeds, I'd hit pay dirt, a memo with Mom's signature, authorizing a payoff that funneled millions into offshore accounts. I'd confronted her via email, naive enough to think blood meant loyalty. Her reply? Stay out of it, Peyton. For your own good. The next week, the reunion, the drugging, the bullet. Victor's panicked whisper as he wrapped me in a tarp. She said he'd never find out, but I had. And now, reborn, I'd make sure the world did too. I spent the day pacing the apartment, chain-smoking camels I'd sworn off in my last life, mapping it out on a yellow legal pad. Step 1. Get leverage. No more scraping by. I needed access. Credibility. In my old timeline, I'd clawed into finance after the bar gig soured, self-taught coding, night classes at CUNY, landing a junior analyst spot at Goldman just months before the end. This time, I'd accelerate it. Hack the system from the inside. By evening, I was on the subway to Midtown, resume in hand, the one I'd polished in stolen library hours. But first, a detour to the Public Records Office on Worth Street, where the fluorescents buzzed like angry hornets and the clerks moved like molasses. I sweet-talked my way into the digital archives, same bullshit charm that got me free drinks back home, and downloaded everything I could on Hale Properties. PDFs of deeds. Emails leaked in a minor scandal years back. Even Victor's FEC filings riddled with red flags. It was child's play compared to what I'd uncover later, but enough to plant seeds. Back in Brooklyn, I fired up my ancient laptop, fingers flying over keys as I anonymized my IP and seeded the files to a dark web drop. Not releasing yet, no. That was for the climax. This was reconnaissance. Sleep came fitful, haunted by echoes of the gunshot, Mom's silhouette in the doorway like a Judas shadow. The next week blurred into a grind of auditions for the life I deserved. Interviews at boutique firms, cold calls to headhunters who laughed at my lack of pedigree. Community college? Bar experience. One sneered over Zoom. His background a yacht club view. What makes you think you belong here? Kid. I leaned into the camera, channeling the rage I'd bottled for decades. Because I see the rot in your spreadsheets, the kind that tanks portfolios and ruins lives. And I fix it before it festers. He hung up, but 2 days later, an email, interview at BlackRock. Junior quant role. Entry level, but a foot in the door. Mom called that afternoon, her timing impeccable as always. Peyton, darling, how's the job hunt? Still wasting away in that godforsaken bar. I gripped the phone, knuckles white, picturing her in her Fifth Avenue penthouse, filing nails while Victor barked orders at underlings. Actually, Mom, things are looking up. Got a lead on something big. A pause. Then her laugh, tinkling.
Forced.
Oh,
Do tell.
you know I have connections. Victor's firm could use fresh blood.
The bait.
In my old life, I'd been applying through her, only for Victor to blackball me behind the scenes. This time, appreciate it, but I'm good. Building my own path. Her silence stretched, laced with something sharper than disappointment. Fear?
Nah, not yet.
But soon. I aced the BlackRock interview, rattling off algorithms I'd memorized from online MIT courses, dissecting a case study on '08 derivatives like it was personal because it was hired on the spot. Starting salary 60 grand, plus bonus potential that made my head spin. First paycheck hit. I moved to a studio in Hell's Kitchen, close enough to the wolves' den without smelling their cologne. Nights were for the grind. CFA prep. Networking mixers where I charmed VCs with stories of rags to spreadsheets, all while compiling the Hale dossier. Screenshots. Timelines. Even a whistleblower contact from a forum, ex-employee burned by a bad eviction. 3 months in. Mom escalated. Unannounced visit to my new place. Bearing takeout from Nobu like a peace offering. She swept in, all Chanel and judgment, eyeing the minimalist IKEA setup.
It's quaint.
But Peyton, this is temporary, right? You could do so much more. Victor loomed in her stories. The generous mentor who'd vouch for me at bigger firms. I poured her wine, untouched by me, and let her ramble, probing gently. What's Hale Properties into these days? Still flipping those luxury condos? Her smile faltered. Just a twitch.
Oh.
You know, the usual. Boring real estate. Why the interest? Because I'm going to bury you in it. I thought, but said, just curious. Finance world small, heard rumors of some shady deals in the market. That night, after she left with their kisses and a check I shredded, my anonymous email pinged. A reply from the whistleblower. Hale's got ties to Eastern European syndicates. Your mom's in deep, faked appraisals on half their portfolio. Got docs if you can protect source. Jackpot. I forwarded it to my secure drive, heart racing. The plan crystallized. Infiltrate Hale as an outsider consultant, expose from within, but twist it personal. Make her watch her empire crumble, brick by laundered brick, all while climbing high enough to reveal the truth on her turf. But revenge isn't clean, it's a blade that cuts the wielder too. At work, I dated casually, a barista named Lena with tattoos and trust issues, but kept walls up, haunted by the what-ifs. What if I went nuclear too soon? What if Victor smelled the rat? Controversial calls loomed, leaked to the press anonymously. Tanking innocence in the crossfire? Or play the long game? Seducing allies in her circle? The first test came at a holiday gala. BlackRock's annual shindig at the plaza. I spotted him across the ballroom. Elias Crow, investment banker extraordinaire. The guy who'd mentored me in my old life before Mom's poison soured everything. Graying temples, shark smile. The kind of man who turned whispers into fortunes. Peyton Hale?
No.
Not Hale. Peyton Ellis. The name on my birth certificate she'd tried to erase. But close enough. He extended a hand, cufflinks flashing. Heard about your quant work. Sharp eye for fraud patterns. Reminds me of myself at your age. We talk shop over scotch. His questions probing. Family in the biz? I hesitated. Then, sort of. Stepdad's Victor Hale. Mom's Elena. His brow arched. A flicker of something dark.
Ah.
Interesting pedigree. By night's end, he'd slipped me his card. Call if you want real action. My firm's hunting anomalies in real estate. It was the opening. But calling meant dipping into the venom, allying with a man who'd later, in my old timeline, uncover Hale's dirt independently, only to be silenced by a car accident Victor arranged. This time, I'd use him as the hammer. Elias's office overlooked Central Park like a throne room, all glass and leather, the kind of space that screamed, "I've bent the market to my will." I walked in 6 weeks later, dossier tucked under my arm in a slim leather briefcase I'd splurged on, first real indulgence since rebirth. "Mr. Crow," I said, shaking his hand. "Peyton Ellis. We met at the plaza." He remembered. Of course, men like him cataloged leverage like fine wine. "The Hale boy."
Sit.
"What's this about?" I laid it out clinical. No emotion, just facts. Charts. The whistleblower's redacted files painting Hale Properties as a house of cards built on counterfeit appraisals and kickbacks. Mom's signature starred in half, her elegant scrawl authorizing consulting fees that traced to Cyprus banks. Elias leaned back, steepling fingers, his eyes narrowing not in shock but calculation. Bold drop.
Kid.
"You know this could end careers? Including yours?" I met his gaze, the ghost of the bullet's echo stealing me. "That's the point. But selectively. I want in your team investigating this quietly. In return, you get the exclusive on the bust." He laughed, low and approving. "Blackmail with benefits." I like it.
But why?
Family feud. The truth clawed up. Decades of abandonment. Shaming. The cold click of the hammer, but I swallowed it. Call it justice. They think I'm wasted potential. Time to prove I'm wrong. He hired me on the spot. Lateral move to Crow Capital as a forensic analyst. Salary doubled. Plus equity. The climb accelerated. Mornings dissecting ledgers. Afternoons, schmoozing sources. Nights plotting the reveal. Mom's calls grew frequent, laced with urgency. "Victor mentioned your name around the office, said you're making waves. Proud of you, Peyton. But careful, water's deep in those circles. Deep enough to drown in." I thought. Hanging up. My controversial pivot hit at month 4, a tip to the SEC. Anonymous. Flagging one Hale deal, a luxury tower in Chelsea with inflated values. Not enough to topple, but a tremor. Regulators sniffed. Delaying permits. Stock dipping 5%. Victor's public statement blamed activist shorts, but privately, Mom texted me, "Heard about the holdup." Coincidence? I replied with the emoji thumbs up. Casual as venom. Lena noticed the change. Her head on my chest one night, tracing the scar. "You're different lately, distant, like you're carrying a war." I pulled her closer, the lie slipping easy. "Just work stress." Big fish. Truth was, the war was mine alone. Involving her meant risking her. And I'd lost enough in one life. But isolation bred doubt. Late nights, staring at the ceiling, I'd replay the death. Victor's sweat-slick face. Mom's averted eyes. Had she pulled the trigger metaphorically? Hell yes. But the twist nod. What if exposing her didn't fill the void? What if it made me the monster? Elias became the anchor. Unwitting confessor over after-hours bourbons. "Your mom's a piece of work," he said one evening. Swirling ice. Met her at a fundraiser years back, charming viper. Victor's the muscle, but she's the brains. You sure you want to burn that bridge? I nodded, but his words lingered. Research deeper revealed the buried secret's core. Mom hadn't just abetted fraud, she'd orchestrated my bio-dad's disappearance. Dad, real name Jax Harlan, indie rocker who'd knocked her up at Berkeley, had threatened to expose her early schemes when she ditched me. A fall from a tour bus in '94. Ruled accident. But the coroner's report, buried in a Vermont file I'd FOI'd, screamed foul. Brake lines cut. Her prints on the rental van. She'd killed to climb. And I'd been the collateral. Shipped off before I could ask questions. That knowledge ignited the fuse. No more half measures. I greenlit the next leak. To ProPublica, a non-profit with teeth, framing it as a broader exposé on real estate corruption. Source close to the family, the byline would read. The article dropped pre-dawn. Headlines screaming, "Hail empire built on lies. Forged docs. Mob ties." Stock plummeted 15%. Victor's board in panic mode. Mom called at 6 a.m., voice shattering. "Peyton, what the hell is this? Your father's furious, says it's sabotage. Tell me you had nothing to do with it." Fathers. The word twisted like a knife.
Mom.
If it's true, maybe it's karma. Silence. Then a sob, real or theater. You're throwing away everything. Wasted potential. Again. I tried to help you.
Click.
The fallout was symphony. FBI raids on Hale offices. Victor lawyered up in a panic suite. Mom vanishing to the country per society pages. I played innocent at Crow. Elias clapping my back. Your tip was gold.
Kid.
SEC's circling, could be indictments by fall. But the high soured quick. Paparazzi staked my building. Tabloids digging. Heiress's estranged son. Traitor or truth teller? Lena bailed. Tear-streaked text. Too much drama. Be safe. Isolation closed in. But resolve hardened. The controversial call. Go public. A podcast interview. Masked voice. Detailing the fraud and the personal. My own mother signed off on ruining lives. Same as she ruined mine. Abandoned at 12. Shamed as an adult. This is for every kid she deemed wasted. Downloads spiked. Viral on Twitter. Hale takedown trending. Victor retaliated sloppy. Hired PIs to tail me. Smears in the Post calling me a disgruntled bastard. But Elias had my back. Looping in his network. You're in the deep end now.
Peyton.
Swim or sink.
I swam.
Compiling the final dossier. Dad's death cert. Her prints digitized. Cross-referenced with Hale's early payoffs. The climax brewed. A gala at the Met. Hale's last stand to woo investors. Invite arrived via Mom's assistant. Family obligation. I RSVP'd yes. The night arrived electric. Air thick with Chanel and desperation. I arrived in bespoke Tom Ford. Hair slicked. The investment banker reborn. Mom spotted me across the hall. Victor at her elbow. His face thunder. She approached. Gown shimmering like fool's gold. Peyton. You came. Her eyes darted fear.
Yes.
Raw and unfiltered. We need to talk. Privately. The study off the grand hall. Same as before. But no drugs this time. Victor barred the door. Looming. You little shit. This you're doing? The leaks? The raids? I smiled. Slow. Evidence doesn't leak.
Victor.
It surfaces. Mom stepped forward, hand on his arm. Baby, stop. He's family. Family. The word ignited. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, plugging into the room's smart screen. Files bloomed. Signatures. Wires. The coroner's ghost. Not just fraud.
Mom.
Jax Harlan. 1994. You didn't just bury me. You buried him first. Her face drained, Victor's hand twitching toward his jacket. But Elias burst in then, flanked by suits, FBI, badges gleaming. Elena Hale. Victor Hale, you're under arrest. Obstruction. Wire fraud. Conspiracy to commit murder. Chaos erupted. Cuffs clicked. Mom's scream piercing as agents read rights. Victor lunged, but I sidestepped, the old bar fight instinct saving me. You feared this, didn't you? I whispered to her as they dragged her past. Not my potential wasted, yours exposed. She twisted, eyes locking mine, not with hate, but a fractured plea. Peyton. I did it for us. For you. Lies.
To the end.
Outside. Flashbulbs popped. Elias at my side. Hell of a night.
Kid.
Your front page tomorrow. But as sirens wailed, doubt crept, the victory hollow. Dad's ghost unavenged fully. My hands as stained as hers. Was this justice? Or just another cycle? The trials dragged into 2020. A circus of depositions and damning testimonies that turned Manhattan into a pressure cooker. I testified twice. Once for the fraud. Crisp in a Brooks Brothers suit, dismantling their ledgers with the precision of a surgeon who'd practiced on his own scars. The second, for the murder charge against Mom, was visceral. The courtroom a vault of polished wood and suppressed gasps. She cut the brakes, I said, voice steady under the judge's gavel, projecting the digitized report. To silence him. To start over. I was the leftover she couldn't erase. Mom, in orange jumpsuit that clashed with her bleached roots. Stare daggers, but cracks showed trembling hands, averted eyes when the jury filed in. Victor folded first, flipping for immunity, his plea deal painting Mom as the mastermind. She handled the dirty work, he drawled on the stand. Rolex swapped for Timex. The bus, the forgeries, all her. The press ate it up, Black Widow of Wall Street. But I knew better, he was the muscle. She the scalpel. Controversial whispers swirled. Had I orchestrated the flip? Planted evidence? Elias shut them down. His firm issuing statements. Peyton Ellis is a whistleblower hero. Not a vendetta player.
Hero.
The word chafed. Heroes didn't wake screaming from phantom gunshots. Life post-raid was a whirlwind upgrade. Promotions at Crow. My name on bylines for a Times op-ed. How families' secrets topple empires. Book offers trickled.
TED Talk invites.
I bought a loft in Soho. Minimalist with skyline views. But ghosts lingered. Empty wine glasses from dates that fizzled. Therapy sessions where I unpacked the rebirth without the supernatural hook. Sounds like survivor's guilt, the shrink said, scribbling. If only. It was survivor's fury, channeled into causes, pro bono audits for evicted tenants, a foundation for foster kids chasing potential on their terms. Mom wrote from Rikers, letters in her looping script. You were always too smart. Peyton. That's why I feared you, not wasted, but dangerous. Forgive me. I burned them unread after the third. The scent of ash a ritual. Victor. Out on bail pending appeal. Tried once, ambushing me in a Starbucks. Coffee steaming between us. She did it for you.
Kid.
The money. The life. Without her messes, you'd be nothing. I laughed.
Cold.
I'm everything because of them. Now piss off before I tip the feds again. He slunk away. A deflated king. The tension peaked at sentencing. Summer heat wave turning the federal courthouse into a sweatbox. Elias sat beside me, murmuring odds. Fraud gets her 15, murder conspiracy. Life if the DA pushes. She entered shackled, makeup defiant, scanning the gallery until her eyes hit mine. No plea, just a statement. I built something from nothing. Sacrificed for my son, gave him chances he squandered. The gallery murmured. I stood, unbidden. Chances? You gave me abandonment.
Lies.
A bullet I dodged by luck. Your sacrifices were self-serving.
Mom. And now?
The world's your mirror. The judge banged. 25 to life. No parole. Victor. 10 years. As marshals let her out, she mouthed it. Wasted. Not potential, us. The courtroom emptied. But I lingered. The weight settling. Victory. But Pyrrhic, the boy who died, still echoed, demanding more. That's when the twist uncoiled, slow and serpentine. A week later, Elias called me into his office. Face grave. Peyton.
Sit.
There's something you need to see. He slid a manila folder across the desk. Yellowed edges whispering age. Inside, a birth certificate. Not mine, hers. Elena Marie Whitaker. Born 1965.
Boston.
But the addendum, a sealed adoption record, cracked open by his private eye. Your grandmother wasn't the trailer trash story she sold. Old money. Whitaker Textiles. She ran because of a scandal, affair with the chauffeur. Your bio-granddad. Disowned. Pregnant with your mom. History repeats. Huh. I flipped pages. Pulse thundering. Deeper, a letter. Dated 1994 from Jax Harlan to Mom. Postmarked Vermont. Elena. If you touch the kid, I'll bury you. The bus was no accident, I know.
No.
My mind reeled. Dad hadn't died by her hand. He'd faked it. Cut lines himself to vanish, protecting me from her escalating schemes. He'd gone underground, bouncing gigs in dive bars, mailing postcards to a P.O. box I'd never checked. The last, 2010, tell Peyton I'm proud. Don't waste it. Elias watched, sympathetic. She feared you because you were like him, too tenacious.
But he didn't die.
Peyton.
He's out there.
Or was. The room spun, my revenge. Built on her lie. Had toppled truths I'd never questioned. Mom hadn't killed him. She'd chase shadows. Victor her blunt tool to silence ghosts. And me? I'd become the avenger of a myth. Exposing fraud real as sin. But the personal blade dulled. I left in a daze. Streets blurring. Hailing a cab to the old foster home address from records. No Jax. But a neighbor remembered. Guitar guy? Yeah. Passed last year. Liver from the bottle. Left a box for Peyton. At the storage unit. Dust choked. It waited. Letters. Demos. A photo. Me at 5. His arm around Mom. Smiles genuine. Son, the final note read, potential's not wasted if you seize it. Forgive her. She was broken before you.
Broken. Like me. Now.
The controversial dawn. Mercy or more vengeance. I could have leaked the adoption, painted her the perpetual victim, twisted the knife public. But as sirens wailed distant, echo of that night, I chose the path less American, less triumphant. I visited her in white-collar wing, plexiglass between us, her face gaunt. "The truth," I said, sliding the photo. "Dad lived. Faked it all." Her sob cracked the barrier. "I know. Hunted him for years. Thought you'd find out. Expose me as the fraud I am. Not fear of potential, fear of unmasking." "Why?" she whispered. "Why this?" I leaned close. "Because wasted isn't blood. It's silence. We're done wasting." She nodded, tears tracing. "Proud. Peyton." Finally.
Outside.
Elias waited. Twist ending. I grinned. First real one in years.
Nah.
Rewrite. The rewrite unfolded in fragments. A mosaic of loose ends tied not with vengeance, but uneasy peace. Mom's appeal failed, but conjugal visits with Victor, ironic romance in chains, softened her edges. Letters shifted from pleas to advice. Stock tips from her cell block network. I read them now, cherry-picking wisdom, ignoring the barbs. "Don't trust bankers with gray temples," one quipped. A jab at Elias. I'd laugh off over drinks with him. Our mentorship deepened. He pushed me toward partner track, co-authoring a white paper on ethical investing that landed us on CNBC. From whistleblower to watchdog, the anchor gushed. I nodded, camera ready. But inside, the hook lines lingered, death's echo. A second chance not for ruin, but reclamation. Jax's legacy became my North Star. I tracked his trail backward, gigs and Nashville dives, open mics in Austin, interviewing barflies and ex-bandmates who'd bought his widower yarn. A demo tape, raw folk with lyrics that gutted. Daughter of dust, son of fire / brake lights fade, but the road's a liar. I digitized it, released under a pseudonym through a small label, proceeds to foster charities. Reviews called it haunting Americana, ironic ghost of the man who dodged his own plot twist. At the launch party in a village club, smoke-hazed and vinyl spun, I raised a glass to shadows, to the unwasted, controversy dogged, of course, America's favorite pastime. A Fox segment branded me, the son who sold out his mother, clips going viral with momfluencer takes, blood over badges, protests outside Crow HQ, pickets with signs, Peyton equals payback. I addressed it head-on. A medium post raw as confession. Betrayal cuts deep. But so does silence. I chose truth over tribe, not easy, not clean. If that's wasted, sign me up. Backlash flipped to buzz. Invites poured, podcasts, panels on toxic family dynamics. Lena resurfaced. DM tentative, saw your post. Coffee. We met at a quiet cafe in the village. Her tattoos faded. My walls cracked. Heard you went full anti-hero, she teased. Nah, I said, lacing fingers. Just human. Second acts are messy. The climax I'd engineered morphed into quiet reckonings. Victor, paroled early for cooperation, crossed my path at a neutral site diner, neutrality enforced by his PO.
Gaunt.
Rolex pawned. He slid into the booth.
Heard you hit it big. Congrats.
No apology. Just business. Your mom's adjusting. Says to tell you the penthouse key's yours if you want it. I sipped black coffee. The offer a poison chalice. Sell it. Donate to eviction relief. He chuckled. Bitter. Always the crusader. She was right to fear you. I leaned in. Fears for cowards.
Vic.
I'm just done running. He left a crumpled 20 for the bill, vanishing into the rain-slick streets. Mom's final visitor log cleared by spring 2022. Health waiver for compassionate release. Cancer. Stage 4. The irony of a body betraying its climber. I drove upstate. The prison a gray monolith under April skies. She emerged frail, chemo-balled under a silk scarf, but eyes sharp. Peyton. Hug through glass turned to supervised walk in the yard. Chain link rattling like old bones. Didn't think you'd come. We sat on a bench. Her hand cold in mine. Twists.
Huh?
Jax. The adoption. All my ghosts. I nodded. The hook of rebirth unspoken. You built walls to hide em. I tore mine down.
She squeezed.
Wasted? Never. You seized it all. Confessions spilled then, full, unvarnished. The abandonment from desperation. Shaming from projection. The night of the gun as panic. Not plan. Victor acted alone. I couldn't stop him. Partial truth. But enough for absolution's edge. She passed 6 months later. Hospice in the Hamptons. Poetic. The estate reclaimed by distant cousins who disowned her kin. Funeral small. Society vultures circling for soundbites. I spoke last. Elena Hale wasn't saint or sinner, just survivalist. Her potential?
Past me.
No waste. Only legacy. Elias clapped my shoulder after. Lena at my side. Happy ending? He asked. I shrugged. American as it gets, messy. Redemptive. With room for sequels.
Now.
2025. Corner office at Crow.
Skyline mine.
The bar scars faded. But wisdom etched. Revenge's thrill fades. Building endures. I mentor juniors. Spotting wasted sparks. Fanning them fierce. Mom's checkbook balanced in spirit. A trust for foster outliers. Her name scrubbed. Jax's tunes hum on playlists. A private requiem. And me, Peyton Ellis. Reborn not to destroy, but to defy the script. Death gave the hook. Life wrote the turn. No bullets left. Just forward.